Please remember to subscribe, click like, and click the bell icon for all notifications on this channel. Imagine if you had the opportunity to interview the last witness to President Abraham Lincoln's assassination. That very thing happened on this classic 50s TV show entitled I've Got a Secret. Now, this video, a little over 7 minutes long, has been on, YouTube for as long as I can remember. And I've always seen it in thumbnails, and I've never gotten around to looking at the video. You know, growing up, President Lincoln was one of my favorite presidents when it comes to the first, you know, that first, generation of presidents. From he was the 16th president, and from those classic presidents like that, I liked him. Just for some reason, I had a classmate that actually was a descendant of Abraham Lincoln. Like I think 5 or 6 generations. I'm trying to remember. I know her name was. Well, I'm not gonna say her name because that's not cool to say someone's name. Put it out there. But I really am interested in watching this video and to see what this individual has to say, being the last witness to President Abraham Lincoln's assassination. So let's check it out, and please come along and let's enjoy this video together.
I've got a secret.
I would like to
Classic
go over and
piece, huh?
personally escort our next guest on the show tonight.
The older gentleman there.
There you go. Now then, sir, will you tell our panel, please? Let's get in a little closer. Do you mind if I pull you in, sir? There we go. Will you tell our panel, please, what your name is and where you're from?
My name's Samuel J. Seymour. I'm from Maryland.
This is Mr. Seymour from Maryland. And we brought Mr. Seymour all the way up from Maryland, and by golly, he got in a hotel and fell down the steps and gave himself a shiner. And we urged him not to come on the show tonight, as a matter of fact, and finally got in touch with his doctor, and the doctor said it was up to Mr. Seymour. Mr. Seymour said he wouldn't miss it. So here he is. I'm feeling a party for the day.
That's that generation that was tough. You know what I mean? Something like that was
Seymour, how old are you, by the way, sir?
96.
96 years old.
Wow. 96 years old.
Now, sir, if you'll
Bless
whisper
him.
your secret to me, I'm sure the folks at home would like to know what it is.
In 1865, dude. Oh my God, man.
Well,
Jeez.
now to help pacify his secret, I will tell you it concerns something that he witnessed. And Bill Cullen, we'll start with you. Something he saw happen.
This thing that Mr. Seymour saw, does it have historical significance?
Does this have historical significance, Mr. Seymour? I would say yes, wouldn't you, sir? Mm-hmm.
I can't hear him very good. You have to tell me what it is.
Yeah, there's quite a distance between our desks here. Let's all speak up, huh?
Does it have political significance?
It had political significance at the time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, if you're 96,
Bill Cullen,
make Mr.
hella
Seymour
young.
born in 1860.
Hey, Henry's such a mathematician.
Yeah, he's been writing over there all the time. This thing, did it have anything to do with the Civil War, Mr. Seymour?
No, it had not to do with the Civil... Well, let's say indirectly it was concerned with the Civil War.
Did it
all right, an answer?
Did it concern a
That's a
famous
tail-
person in American
tail
history?
end.
Very
Pretty
well-known
much at the tail
person.
end.
Did it concern a famous person, Mr. Seymour?
Yeah.
Yep.
Would it help me to know who this person was?
What did you say?
He wants to know if it would help him to know who this person was, and he has to know who that is, yes.
Was this man? Did this man hold political office?
Did this man hold
I mean,
political office?
how long is he gonna ask Bill Cullen?
Yes.
actually
$20
in
down
a
and
lot of
$60 to go, and we go to Jane Meadows.
yeah, Jane Meadows. Okay.
Mr. Seymour.
Wow.
Henry is being his usual helpful self by whispering to Jane, McKinley.
To see these
I'm not listening.
actresses young,
Mr.
she's
Seymour,
hella
would
young,
this
Jane
person
Meadows.
have ever been president of the United States?
Was he ever president, this man?
Oh, I think it was once.
Could it have been Abraham Lincoln?
It was Abraham Lincoln, yes.
You witnessed something to do with Abraham Lincoln. Was this a pleasant thing?
Was it a pleasant thing you saw, sir?
Not very pleasant, I don't think. I was
No.
scared to death over it.
Yeah, he was a
He
child.
was scared to death.
Would it have had anything to do with the President Lincoln's death, by any chance?
Unfortunately, yes.
Did Mr. Seymour witness the shooting of President Lincoln?
Got that quick. Bill Cullen got it out of the way, and then she was able to pick up on it.
We found out about Mr. Seymour through a recent article in the American Weekly, and it said, "I saw Lincoln shot." And this article is by Samuel J. Seymour, and it goes on to say that Mr. Seymour was 5 years old at the time. He had been taken to Ford's Theater by some good friends, and the curious thing was that when he was this youth, 5 years of age, when he saw Booth jump from the box to the stage, at which time he broke his leg, his only concern was not for the president, because he didn't realize that the president had been shot, but the poor man who fell out of the balcony. And that's all of his memory is of going to the theater and seeing a man fall out of the balcony. Sir, it's been a great joy and you might say an honor to have you are, by the way,
Wonder how old he
the only
was when he found
living
out
witness
that he was a
of
witness
this tragic
to,
event. And
tragic
we are
as it
certainly
was,
going
but
to
history. You know what I mean?
$80 to you just for your courage in coming here to see us tonight.
About the following is an excerpt from the article about Mr. Seymour mentioned in this clip. Mr. Seymour was accompanied to Ford's Theater by his nurse Sarah Cook and by Mrs. Goldsboro, the wife of his father's employer. All right, and it has the article there. Mrs. Goldsboro pointed directly across to the theater to a colorfully draped box. "See those flags, Sammy?" she asked. "That's where President Lincoln will sit." When he finally did come in, she lifted me up high so I could see. He was a tall, stern looking man. I guess I just thought he looked stern because of his whiskers, because he was smiling and waving to the crowd. When everyone sat down again and the actors started moving and talking, I began to get over the scared feeling I'd had ever since we arrived in Washington. But that was something I never should have done. All of a sudden, a shot rang out, a shot that will always be remembered, and someone in the president's box screamed. I saw Lincoln slump forward in his seat. People started milling around, and I thought there had been another incident when one man seemed to tumble over the balcony rail and land on the stage. "Hurry, hurry, let's go help the poor man who fell down," I begged. But by the time John Wilkes Booth, the assassin, had picked himself up and was running for dear life, he was caught. He wasn't caught until 12 days later when he was dragged to a barn where he was hiding. Only a few people noticed the running man, but pandemonium broke loose in the theater with everyone shouting, "Lincoln shot! The president's dead!" Mrs. Goldsboro swept me into her arms and held me close, and somehow we got outside the theater. That night, I was shot 50 times at least in my dreams. Oh, okay. And I sometimes will still relive the horror of Lincoln's assassination. Dozens in my rocker, dozing in my rocker as an old codger like me is bound to do. Okay. So, wow. That is that is something else to be, I mean, living as long as the gentleman did, of course, he would live long enough, to be able to tell the tale to almost another generation, another century away from that, removed from that incident. And it's like he was a child, 5 years old, and he's seen, the president waving and smiling at the crowd, and then before next thing you know, here's the gunshots, and then you see the president slumped over, and you see, John Wilkes Booth jump from the balcony to the floor below, broke his leg, and he was still able to run away and get away. And he was, like I said, in that, and he wasn't, you know, arrested for another, or caught another for another 12 days. That's a story that we all in history, history class and all that we all learned about, we all heard about, we all read, and take our test about it and do a book report about like that. And yeah, for some reason as a kid, I picked, you know, Abraham Lincoln as like a favorite president. You know, and this really is something that kind of definitely opens your eyes to like it's not just history books, not just TV reenactments and movie reenactments and all that stuff. It's actually a person that was there. You had Jane Meadows, you had Bill Cullen, you have a few others there who are, the ones that ask questions and try to get the secret from that person. Not real quick, because Bill Cullen was the one who actually, he actually was the one that kind of put it out there in the sense that he got all the questions in and pretty much set it up for when Jane Meadows, did her asking questions. She didn't have to ask much. She already knew. I'm pretty sure the whole panel knew. You know, um, but yeah, that's something else. It's amazing that, like I said before, how there is somebody who is still alive from that incident to where this was. And yeah, remember this was 1956, so it was like a new technology, TV, far removed from radio. I mean, radio was still around, but this was the medium now. TV was the medium, and so you're seeing a gentleman from an era where there was no TV, there was no radio. You know, when did radio come around? Like 1899 or something like that. 18 maybe, but definitely not around this time, 1865, when he was assassinated. So you imagine this guy's going through his life, seeing all this, all of this technology happen, and then he's able to go to a TV show and he's seen on live TV. And I just wonder, like I was saying that during the video, I wonder if what do you call it, if he was like, he knew when did he know? When did it finally come to him? Like as a child, you see something and then immediately it'll go away as you get older, and then it'll come back. Something will trigger it, and it'll trigger. I mean, like he even said in the article that he got shot 50 times in his dream. You know what I mean? And wow, it's that's amazing. That's amazing. It's really this so shocking, that they were able to get somebody like that on the show. The guy, before he even came on the show, he had a little accident, a little spill. He fell over and he hurt his eye. You can see a bandage on his eye. And then he was determined to go on the show. The doctors said it's up to him. And the generation that he grew up in, those guys are some tough, motherfuckers. They're not going to let something like that keep them from going somewhere. Of course, nowadays you probably have a lot of people who just get a splinter and they want to stay home. You know, not this generation, that generation he came from. But it's understandable that the gentleman wanted to be on there. He was 95, 96 years old. So it's like almost 100 years ago, that he experienced that. Oh, like I said, like a whole century has passed. 1800s into the 1900s. You know what I mean? It's crazy. How many people now can you say what is like the last? Because he's definitely, he's definitely passed on. I mean, definitely, he's no longer around, of course. But what other significant historical, you know, thing like that can someone still be alive from? I mean, of course, when it comes to like assassinations, let's say assassinations like Martin Luther King, there's definitely still people around. John F. Kennedy, still people around. Robert F. Kennedy, still people around. Let's go back. Let's go back to that era. I mean, is he the only one that ever came forward about something like this? Like that. I mean, definitely from that Civil War era, there's definitely nobody around that can say that witness or someone who fought in the Civil War. So definitely not around. I mean, we're already losing all of the World War II veterans. I think there's only a handful left. you know. Um, but yeah, that's my video. I thought I'd check this video out. A video that I've seen floating around YouTube for so long, and this one was actually uploaded in 2016. And History Flicks for You is the one who uploaded it, so I give you guys credit. Thank you for this video. And it's a video that I've seen, over the past, year. I've seen it, and always wanted to watch it because, like I said, growing up, somehow, for some reason, I picked President Abraham Lincoln as my favorite president. I guess it's because I was growing up, even as a child, I was into history. I loved reading about George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, and all these historical figures. Thomas Jefferson. So I picked him because I just liked the way he looked. I like the qualities that he had. Very tall guy, very imposing figure. And sometimes little kids will look up to people like that. Like so. Yeah, for those of you who stopped by and checked out the video, I appreciate it. And in closing, as always, take care.